A man is humiliated by his boss for ruining a task. He says nothing. He does not shout back. He does not defend himself. He simply stands there, absorbing the humiliation in silence, while something dark begins to move inside him. Then he returns home, there in the safety of his house, where no authority can threaten him. He finally releases what he could not release before. He shouts at his wife over something small, something trivial, something that does not deserve rage. A few holes in the laundry become the excuse through which wounded pride looks for a victim. His wife is stunned. She does not understand that she is not really being punished for laundry. She is being used as a container for someone else's unprocessed humiliation. She becomes the next link in a chain that began long before her. Nearby, their young son has drawn on the wall with toothpaste. He is only a child. He does not yet understand order, property, patience, or consequences. What he needs is correction. What he needs is explanation. What he needs is a calm voice that teaches him where freedom ends and responsibility begins. But instead, his mother shouts at him. She points her finger at him, not because that is wisdom, but because pain always seeks movement. And pain that is not understood becomes imitation. She does not give him understanding. She gives him a method. She teaches him, without meaning to, that when something disturbs you, you do not clarify, you discharge. You do not teach, you wound. Later, when a small kitten drops a bag of marbles, the boy shouts at it and points his finger. That is all he knows. And in that small moment, something terrifying is revealed. What we call anger is often not born in the present moment at all. It is inherited, passed down, redirected, repeated. It moves through human beings the way fire moves through dry wood. One person burns, and without reflection, the flames search for the next available surface. The ancient philosophers understood this better than we do. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, called anger a kind of temporary madness. And this is exactly what we see here. Not madness in the theatrical sense, but in a more common and dangerous sense, the loss of inner order. Anger makes the soul irrational. It narrows perception. It transforms a human being from a judge of reality into a servant of wounded emotion. The man is not angry about laundry. The wife is not angry about toothpaste. The boy is not angry about marbles. Each person is reacting not to what is in front of them, but to what was left unresolved behind them. And this is why anger is so rarely honest. It pretends to be about justice, when often it is only displaced humiliation. It speaks as if it is correcting the world, while in reality it is simply looking for a weaker target. The old tragedians knew that suffering moves through generations. In Greek tragedy, curses pass from fathers to children, from rulers to households, from one act of blindness to another. But perhaps these curses were never magical. Perhaps they were psychological. Perhaps what the ancients called fate, we now witness as repetition. A father cannot strike the boss, so he strikes downward. A wife cannot answer the deeper wound, so she strikes downward. A child cannot understand what is happening, so he repeats downward. This is how a household becomes a theater of inherited pain. Aristotle would say that character is formed by habit. We become what we repeatedly do. And this means that a single outburst is never just a single outburst. It is practice. It is training. It is rehearsal for the soul. Every time anger is passed downward instead of transformed inwardly, the soul becomes more skilled at cruelty and less skilled at understanding. The terrifying thing is that this pattern soon stops feeling violent. It begins to feel normal. The child grows up believing that authority is loud, that correction is humiliation, that power means pointing, blaming, and shaming. He will not remember a philosophical lecture about ethics. He will remember the emotional grammar of the home. This is why the family is never merely a private space. It is the first political institution. It is the first school of power. It is where human beings learn whether strength protects or dominates, whether mistakes invite instruction or punishment, whether pain is examined or exported. Plato divided the soul into parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. But in ordinary life, spirit often becomes wounded pride. And when reason fails to govern it, pride becomes tyranny. The man in this story is not guided by reason. He is ruled by insult. His inner government has collapsed. And because he cannot restore order within himself, he imposes disorder on those beneath him. This is the true danger of unexamined emotion. It does not remain private. It becomes architecture. It builds a house where fear lives in the walls. But the story is not hopeless, because what is learned can also be interrupted. The Stoics did not teach emotional numbness. They taught responsibility for judgment. Between the event and the reaction, there is a brief opening. Small, fragile, almost invisible, but real. In that opening lies freedom. The man could have returned home and named his wound instead of performing it. The wife could have corrected the child instead of unloading herself onto him. The child, if taught differently, could have learned that power is not the right to shout at the weaker, but the strength to stop the chain. And this is where philosophy becomes practical. To break inherited anger, one must do what is ancient, difficult, and deeply unfashionable. Pause, reflect, interpret, speak truthfully. Refuse to transform humiliation into domination. Refuse to baptize cruelty with the language of discipline. Because in the end, the greatest moral failure in this story is not that people are hurt. It is that they pass hurt onward without understanding it. And the greatest moral victory is not the absence of anger. It is the moment someone finally says, "This pain ends with me." Civilization begins there. Not in laws, not in speeches, not in ideals, but in the silent heroic act of refusing to make another innocent being pay for what wounded you.